Hello and welcome to another edition of Politely Intoxicated. I'm Justin Bond. Thanks again for coming along this week. And as we round out the month of April here, I want to start with a story so ridiculous that I can't believe in today's world it didn't end in the obscenely ridiculous way that it was intended to. So, if you'll allow me, I'd like to introduce you to these two Eagle Scouts and cerebral giants of the Arkansas correctional system. That handsome devil on the left, well, that's Jack Jones, age 52, and the Denzel-looking fella on the right is Marcel Williams, just 46 years young. Now, these two distinguished gentlemen pranced their way into having their own little place in history, not likely the way their mothers imagined by being given a Nobel Peace Prize, curing cancer, or something of that nature. But rather, these two were bestowed with the honor of being part of the first double execution in this country since 2000. In other words, these guys were executed on the same gurney just a few hours apart. Now, it would make me feel good to be able to say something sympathetic or be even a little compassionate towards these now dead guys. However, in full context of their crimes and the ridiculous Hail Mary passes they threw that just piss you off to learn about, it's even worse, I feel, wildly insulting to their victims and victims' families. So rather than putting forth so much of as a nanosecond of silence for these guys, my first and immediate reaction was, 2 in the same night? Now, this is efficiency we're not used to seeing from any government entity. That's good work. You see, in the days leading up to Jack Jones meeting his maker, his lawyer argued that he should be given a stay of execution because his health conditions could lead to a painful death, and we wouldn't want that. You see, in addition to the fact that Mr. Jones has never been assigned the nickname Slim, he also has diabetes and used a wheelchair because he actually had to have a leg amputated while in prison. Now, I'd like to quickly point out the irony in the fact that I'm certain the Arkansas taxpayers had to lay out quite a bit of cash to provide medication and the necessary medical care associated with safely amputating the leg of a guy who's been ordered to die. Now, it would appear that his lawyer's core argument was, hey, why would you kill this guy? Isn't it obvious that Fatty's overall general health is going to sort this out? Well, that might be a fair argument. However, I think there is a certain celebrity spokesman for diabetic supplies that is proof that you can live a content and happy life for many years despite having diabetes. I loved you in Cocoon, by the way. Just saying. Fortunately, the judge that heard this lunacy, he didn't bite and instructed Boris to do the right thing.
Boris! Oh. I've got a special. When can you work him in?
I couldn't possibly sneak him in until Monday, sir. I'm booked solid.
Monday. Splendid.
Now, before you go inundating me with all that hate mail noting my morose and cynical outlook, first of all, this must be your first time watching if that surprises you, so thanks for tuning in. Secondly, allow me to give you a little looky-loo into Mr. Jones's indiscretions. Jack Jones was sentenced to death for the 1995 rape and killing of Mary Phillips. He strangled her with the cord to a coffee pot. Now, Mr. Jones is nothing if not diligent in his pursuit of proving with categorical certainty that he is top of the heap when it comes to being the biggest waste in all of the human race. And to that end, he was also convicted of attempting to kill and his rape and murder victim's 11-year-old daughter. And for good measure, he was also convicted of a separate rape and murder in the state of Florida. So clearly, if Wheaties were to ever put out a special edition cereal box honoring gold medal scumbags, Mr. Jones would unquestionably be on it, front and center. Next on the list of people that needed killing is Marcel Williams. Now, the attorneys for Marcel Maibel argued that Williams' morbid obesity makes it likely that either the IV line cannot be placed or that it will be placed in air, thus causing substantial damage, like a collapsed lung. Now, using this premise, the attorneys asked the justices to block the execution. So, you see, for those of us keeping score at home, Mr. Williams weighs 400 pounds. 400 pounds.
Does it have to be human?
Feed me!
Does it have to be mine?
Feed me!
Where am I supposed to get it?
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me all night long.
Mr. Williams is so fat that last year the prison's warden had a contest for the inmate with the best behavior. The winner to be voted on and determined by the correctional officers at the facility. The winner received a free, all expenses paid trip around Marcel Williams' fat ass and a new luggage set for the trip. All right, I might have made that last part up, but it was fun, wasn't it? So, what else is interesting about this is that when Mr. Williams entered the prison system, he tipped the scale at just 195 pounds. 195 pounds. Now, I don't care how many coupons you clip or trips to Aldi's you make, Mr. Williams clearly has not been a cheap date for the prison system. So, really, Mr. Williams needed to die quite some time ago. Now, before your bleeding heart gets the better of you, let me tell you what makes Mr. Marcel the front runner to be the Grand Marshal of the Shitbag Parade. Marcel Williams was sent to death row in 1994 for the rape and killing of 22-year-old Stacey Erickson, whom he kidnapped from a gas station in central Arkansas. Authorities said that Williams abducted and raped 2 other women in the days before he was arrested in Erickson's death. Now, Williams admitted responsibility for all of these crimes to the state parole board last month. And clearly, since we can talk about Williams in the past tense now, they were not particularly impressed with his sudden burst of honesty. So it seems insane to me that the semantics of how such evil-filled people are put to death gets called into question. Now, don't get me wrong. I think to willy-nilly get into dispensing cruel and unusual punishment is not a good thing. However, if you are wildly concerned about a painful, unintended consequence to capital punishment, I think a good first step in quelling that anxiety would be not to sexually assault and murder women. If the dead guys, formerly known as inmates, were to ask the victims' families if they would describe the treatment they offered to their loved one as not cruel and unusual, do they think they could? We could ask the victims, if not for the fact that their lives were stolen from them over 20 years ahead of their attackers. And I get that everyone needs representation, a fair chance to defend themselves. It's really a core principle of our nation and certainly our legal system. It's hard for me, though, in the case of these guys, to not ask their attorneys if, after they get home and finish counting all of that fat public defender money, if they could kindly pull their lip over their face and swallow. And clearly, neither of these men have spent any part of the past couple decades malnourished. That's for certain. However, they were granted a last meal by the state. Jack Jones, well, he demonstrated his gratitude to the people of Arkansas for caring for his diabetic condition all these years and saving his life by amputating his leg by selecting fried chicken, potato logs with tartar sauce, beef jerky bites, 3 candy bars, a chocolate milkshake, and fruit punch. Now, as for Marcel Maibel, he has seen no reason to watch calories since early in the Clinton administration, and he was happy to continue that tradition, as he opted for fried chicken, banana pudding, nachos, 2 sodas, and potato logs as well, only with his, not tartar sauce, ketchup. He's more of a simple fella. Now, I think it's a warm sentiment for these dirtbags to be offered a last meal and have the state subsequently bring the Golden Corral to them. I can't help but wonder, though, if while Jack Jones was sentencing his rape and murder victim to death by way of strangulation with Mr. Coffee's cord, if he even asked if she'd like a piece of coffee cake before her forced and abrupt, unceremonious exit from the world. Or I wonder if Marcel Williams, after he abducted his rape and murder victim from a gas station, if he even asked her before they left if she wanted him to run back in to grab even just a moon pie and a Diet Coke before he punched that young lady's ticket. I am relieved that in this often insane world that we live in, that this attempt at indulging the insane was shelved and justice was served. However, I still can't help but be enraged that between 1995 and 2017, these two cancers to the world were developing diabetes and gaining 200 pounds. Between those very same years, their victims, well, they were dead the whole time. Marcel Williams, in the end, was smart enough to know that nobody cared what he thought and declined to give any statement prior to the end of his life. Jack Jones, though, he was a big enough narcissist to offer a lengthy one for the masses of people that couldn't care less. In his diatribe, he stated, "I hope over time you can learn who I really am, and I'm not a monster." Well, Jack, I am happy to report that we honored your request to learn who you really are. And the overwhelming consensus is that we don't view you as a monster. The truth is, we don't view you as anything, really. We're just glad you're dead. Well, it's got to be that time of the show where, as we do every single week, it would appear now, we have to take a moment to say hello to Moron. Hello, Moron. Good to see you, Moron, you crazy sumbitch. Thanks for causing all that unrest in the world that we're just all taking in right now. I'm going to tell you right now, this guy right here, he is going to get a lot of people killed sometime in the near future. And I hope that I am wrong about that, but this thing is just, it's going south in a hurry. So just today, Rex Tillerson, Secretary Tillerson, is out and he's telling everybody exactly how China has officially told North Korea, this is a big deal, that if they perform any more missile tests, that they're going to start putting sanctions on them. And the North Koreans really, really need China, and they're their only real semi-ally in the world. And they said that if they performed any more missile tests, that's what they were going to do. They were going to put sanctions on them. Rex Tillerson himself made it crystal clear that they are not looking for regime change in North Korea. More than anything, what they want is just a nuclear-free North Korea. So it is the position of Kim Jong-un, it would seem, that their only way to survive is by having nuclear weapons. And Rex Tillerson is saying your only way to survive is to not have nuclear weapons. So, taking all that into consideration, just a few hours after all of this has transpired with Rex Tillerson, giving his piece on how the United States feels about North Korea and articulating what the Chinese told North Korea about performing more missile tests, they perform another missile test, a failed missile test at that. So I don't think Kim Jong-un operates in reality. I mean, you think about the life of this kid, or as John McCain would say, this crazy fat kid. That's the funniest thing John McCain's ever said in his life, I'm pretty sure. But he's never been exposed to anything real. The guy has grown up in a dictatorship family and just kind of been insulated from the real world. And nobody around him wants to give him bad news because, who wants to be that guy to give the crazy dictator the bad news? So when he says, oh, we're going to go ahead and we're going to crush America, every single one of his generals around him is going to say, yes, that's right. We are going to crush America. And like, I don't know how the hell we're gonna do that. Yes, that's right. That's right. Kim Jong-un. We're gonna get those guys. And of course, they're running back into their office, going, "My God, we're so screwed," because they know, the people around him know that that have a little real world experience, that the crazy blonde-haired president in America, in their mind, he's going to make that place look like Hiroshima on a warm August afternoon if they don't start stepping right, and that is that is concerning. So, and of course, President Trump, he got involved after this missile test via Twitter because that's his thing. It is kind of, I love how he always puts at the end of these things when something is perceived negatively to him, bad. Kim Jong-un, North Korean dictator, bad. Colonel Sanders, good. So we'll see how this all plays out this week, and hopefully, Kim Jong-un grows a brain, and disaster can be averted. Now, one thing I do want to talk about here is, why is the president's first 100 days so significant? That's actually a question, because I have no idea in the world why there is such a big deal made out of the president's first 100 days. And this is not a commentary on what President Trump has done with his first 100 days, good or bad. But I remember, this has been a big deal for a long time, but I remember very vividly thinking with President Barack Obama and also President George W. Bush, how this first 100 days business was just some hocus pocus milestone that said, well, X, Y, and Z needed to be accomplished in the first 100 days. And my question is, well, why? There's over 1,450 days in a 4-year presidential term. Why have we got this phony baloney milestone to have stuff completed? Now, I'm not saying that sometimes if we can't get things accomplished sooner rather than later, hey, I'm all for that, depending on what it is. But the reality is trying to rush and jam a bunch of crap down people's throats just to get it in under 100 days. I think that might be indicative of a real broader problem with Washington, just in general. So, 100 days of the Trump presidency, it has passed, and that means absolutely nothing to me. If it means something to you, please let me know. It's time now to get into our asshole of the week, and our asshole of the week is this guy, General Mike Flynn. And you gotta believe that if Donald Trump were allowed one mulligan in his first 100 days, it would probably have to be this guy. Because Mike Flynn, if he doesn't start generating some real satisfactory answers here for certain people on the Hill, pretty soon every bar in America is going to rename the White Russian the Mike Flynn.
Inspector General is now investigating former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn over payments made to him from foreign governments. This news was revealed just a short time ago when Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings, who is the top Democrat, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, released several documents relating to Flynn, given to his committee by the department. One shows that the Pentagon did warn Flynn not to accept foreign payments without permission.
This new DIA letter counters the suggestion made by General Flynn's attorney on Tuesday that General Flynn followed the appropriate procedures when he accepted foreign funds for his trip to Moscow in 2015 and dined with the Russian President Putin.
Congratulations, General Flynn. You are our asshole of the week. That'll do it for this week's Politely Intoxicated. Thanks so much for checking us out again this week. Don't forget to visit our website at www.politelyintoxicated.com. And when you go to our website, make sure you click on the subscribe button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would be infinitely grateful. And when you see our posts on social media, like, share, and subscribe as much as possible, because that would be just tremendous. Politely Intoxicated will be back again next week, and we'll see what kind of trouble we can step into then. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Justin Bond, and we'll see you next week on Politely Intoxicated.